At FedEx Office, we know running a business is a marathon, but sometimes every task feels like a sprint. Design the product catalog, pick up the new boxes, print the business cards, notarize the lease, put out 20 more yard signs. It's a lot. Luckily for you, FedEx Office is here to help turn your ideas into reality, so you can stop running yourself in circles and start concentrating on the important things, like deciding what's for lunch. Visit your nearest location or office.fedex.com to get started. FedEx Office.
It's time for the B-A-Q-A. Oh the B-A-Q-A. What you said, the B-A-Q-A. Not Manday, but the B-A-Q-A with Tiffany. The B-A-Q-A with Berna A.
We're both feeling our way around. We're like, how are we going to do this? Is this going to be okay?
We have a guest in the Berna Anat. She's got this new amazing book called Money Out Loud. If you didn't listen to the prior episode, which you ought to, because it's amazing. Berna is a new author, but she's not new to the game. She's true to the game. Her book is amazing and awesome. It came out about a month and a half ago. It's available everywhere. But I said, Berna, come to the stew with us today and answer help me to answer a financial question. And then two, Berna, low-key, high-key, is one of my mentees. And so she's going to ask me a business question, which I don't know what she's going to ask. And so we'll answer that in the second half. Yay. So let's get started. Well, first of all, Berna, I'm acting like I didn't introduce you to the people, but that was the last, let me introduce Berna. She's not just she's not just some girl off the street, okay? Berna
In a way, I am.
She's an award-winning producer, speaker, podcast host, and rich auntie in training and financial hype woman, which is her made-up way of saying she creates financial education media all over the internet. Born and raised in the Bay, and a proud, I don't know why, because I'm like Filipina. I don't know why I'm like, I know, but you know what? Because the F is throwing me off. Anyway, Filipina American.
It's perfect.
Right? Daughter of immigrants. She taught herself how to pay off over $50,000 of debt, and then did what any millennial would do, yelled about it on the internet. Berna's work has been featured on platforms like Forbes, New York Times, and BuzzFeed. She received a Plutus Award for Most Entertaining Financial Content Creator. The Plutus Awards are like the Emmys or the Oscars of the financial education space. Big deal. And she did it not 1 year, but 2 years in a row, and was named ABS. She was named the Global Pinoy Idol. What year was that? Was that recently?
This was, I want to say 2020. Global Pinoy Idol.
But you can find Berna online at Hey Berna on all the platforms and heyberna.com, or curled up with her nieces watching The Office. Yes. Le Oficina. Okay. So Berna's in the stew, and we're going to take a question, and Berna's going to help me answer it, and then Berna's going to ask her own business question. Few questions for you. I need a little change at 53. Am I too old to buy a home? Too old to change careers? The new career would be an LPN, which is a type of nurse, I believe. Girl, don't get me to lying. She also says that it's being said that the U.S. dollar is losing value. What does that even mean to us? Should I even try to buy a home anymore? Should people leave the U.S.? Sounds like prices are skyrocketing even more. This is nerve-wracking. I'm like, oh, girl, I'm getting nervous just reading this.
Me too. My blood pressure is going up as you talk.
I'm like, breathe, ML, breathe. Yes. I just thought of something else. Oh my gosh, ML. She said, I'm exploring housing options and condos. Then mobile homes started to show up. I've seen some beautiful ones. Do you know if they earn equity? Is that a waste of money? Do I even consider it? ML has there's 10 questions here.
It's ML is spiraling. ML is spiraling up, down, and around. Yes. It's a spiral.
So let's help her. So Berna, what would you say? Just initial reaction to ML's 51 questions.
51,000 questions. Exactly. I'm like, we asked 21 questions. Is that 50 Cent?
Yes.
21 questions. Sorry. I'm like, and this is also what I would have said to 50 Cent at the beginning of that song. Breathe. Hold up. Let's, like a collective breath in and out. Because I feel like when someone has this many questions, what they really have is one question. And this question, all these little questions stem from the top question. In my mind, the top question is I feel insecure financially. What do I do? And I'm that annoying person that's always like, when you have a question, I have 7 back to try to get all the way to the bottom of it. But to me, it sounds like ML is at a place where she's like, I I'm panicking. I want to make options to change my financial situation. And the thing that my brain latched onto first is, am I too old too? Because it sounds like I need a life change at 53. That's the question. I need a life change at 53. Now, where do I go? Because now ML is like, do I change my career? Do I buy a mobile home? Do I leave the country? Like, do I start learning about the economy? Like, I think the life change question needs to be dealt with first. And so my brain is chewing on, what's the first step? If it's just there, I just need a life change at 53. It sounds like the rest of these questions have to do with not so much that ML is like, oh no, I absolutely need to earn more money, or like I'm covered in debt. What do I do? It's like they're looking at a lot of options to just like bring a financial change. And so that's where my brain is at first. I'm like, let's start there. Where do we go?
I love that. And you're right. I think that ML, to Berna's point, and I get it, we've all been here when like one thing leads to another thing, leads to another thing, and it just feels so overwhelming. You know, what I read in here is uncertainty based in fear. Mm-hmm. And certainly that's not a judgment, because it does feel like scary times.
Yes.
You know, we just came on the tail end of a pandemic, a mini recession, a potential looming recession. It's been very up and down. But I'll say this, ML, and to anyone listening who might be feeling like, everything's going to hell and back, that the economy is cyclical.
Yes.
Meaning every 10 to 12 years or so, we hit a recession without fail. Mm-hmm. And about every, I don't even know, longer than that, there's a depression, which is 2 consecutive years of recession. Yep. And meaning that it is normal for economies to be up and money is flowing, to be down and money is tight, and something in between. So there are things that are beyond you have not done anything, just by nature of living. You are going to live through ups, downs, and in betweens. That's just how it goes.
Yes.
And so you know that where we are right now, they're always saying the dollar is down, the dollar is up. And we will see it again in another 20 years, and another 20 years after that, another 20 years, And so I wouldn't be so afraid of the super specifics of now, other than to acknowledge, this is part of the normal cycle of the economy. And if you want to ease yourself, you can literally say to yourself, maybe I'll Google a YouTube video about the cycles of an economy, so I can understand, it's almost like your kid is crying, you have a newborn and they're crying, at like 2 a.m. And you can focus that in the moment they're crying at 2 a.m. or just know, like, honestly, my kid cries every morning at 2 a.m. because they're a newborn. This is part of the life cycle of like what it looks like to raise a kid. It's not that something is wrong. Certainly, is it nerve-wracking because, who loves crying at 2 a.m.? But understanding it's a natural part of growth of babies. That, they fit to be up at 2. Yeah. So that's what, so let's start there, is to like acknowledge that what you're feeling is normal, but to acknowledge that it is part of a larger cycle that we have been through before and we will be through again.
Yes, 100%. I mean, it's hard not to panic, because every time you turn on the TV, you go on social media, there is new reason to think that we are legitimately in the apocalypse. Like, the world is, and I feel that same tension in this message from ML all around me, of just like, it feels like every day things are getting worse, or things are so bad. And even just hearing this from you, Tiff, I'm like pulling my head out of the 2 a.m. crying baby and being like, we've said these things before, especially in terms of the economy. Of course, things are happening in the economy that are different from the last recession, but recessions it's literally part of the life cycle of our economy. So I'm like, oh yeah, I think I got caught up a little bit in ML's panic, and I'm like, she's right. What do we do?
I'm leaving.
I gotta go. I'm one of many people who just in the last few months contemplated, like, do I need to go? Do I need to get the heck up out of here? But to take that breath, like you said, like we were talking about, and go like, this is normal, this is cyclical. Because when you make decisions from that place of panic, that's when people mess up their investments. That's when people like rip money out of their 401k. That's when people ignore things, kind of building block things like having an emergency savings. What does your retirement fund look like? What's your high interest debt look like? Like, let's take care of our basics. People ignore that and go like, I'm moving to Portugal.
I know literally all the financial girlies are moving to Portugal.
Bye.
You know?
What? Are we starting a commune? Like, I didn't get the invitation for financial
But
commune.
you said something that I think is going to be so helpful for ML, which is when things get rough,
Yes.
you should get down to the basics.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
Am I budgeting? Do I have savings?
Yes.
Am I maintaining good credit? Am I managing my debt in a responsible way? Do I have an income that I'm earning and I'm pretty confident that I can continue to earn that? Like those are the core fundamentals. So when things get really rough, I ask myself, let me review my fundamentals. My budget could be a little tighter. Okay, my savings. You know what? Let me see if I can save a little bit more. My credit score's looking good. Currently, I don't have any credit card debt. That's good. You see? And so like getting down to the fundamentals. And then two, like once you can allay some of those fears, especially if you have your foundation strong, I want, instead of you making decisions from a place of running away from,
yes.
I want you to ML and anyone listening to ask yourself, what can you run towards?
Yes.
Like something joyful. Like ML, do you want to be an LPN? If that sounds awesome to you, run toward that.
Yes.
Do you want to be a homeowner because it's something that you're excited about? Then run toward that versus I want to do that because no.
I'm panicking.
What do you want to do, not what do you feel like you're forced to do, know? And so
100%.
that's the space we want you to make financial choices from. Like I did this earlier, like with in our previous episode with Berna, where I asked kind of like, where do you see yourself in 2 to 5, 10 years?
Yes.
I want you to. I call it dreamscaping. Sit down on the couch, look out the window, play your favorite music, and ask yourself, oh man, if I could just come up with my ideal life, it would look like this and this and this. And then you can start to ask yourself, what do I need to do financially to support that life? Because that's from a place of joy and excitement, and adventure versus like, a place of fear and shame and uncertainty. And so that's so drop down to the fundamentals, budgeting, savings, debt, credit, earning. Look at all your fundamentals. Are they strong? If they're not, Money Out Loud is a great book to help you. To start to get you. You see what I did there?
I did. I was like, get good with money too. Also get good with money. Can we plug?
Right? So you get that book to start to bring that, to get yourself to this financially, fundamentally sound place.
Yes.
And then start making, start dreamscaping and then aligning your financial choices with those dreams.
Exactly. We were saying this before when we were sort of reviewing the question of that. It's like, it's never too late to make these kinds of life changes, but I love what you're getting at. And I think it gets at that. What is the umbrella question, which is ML's first question? I need a life change at 53. Why? What is the life change, right? Like, I feel like that's the kind of questions I would ask myself if I were ML and I was sitting on my couch dreamscaping. Do I need a life change because I need excitement? Because I feel insecure financially? Like, what is the problem that we're trying to solve? Because buying a condo and renting away might not solve it, when originally the question was like, the solve is just, I just need to shake things up. Or like you said, I would be interested in a nursing career, but it's hard to make those distinctions when we're in a place of panic and scarcity. So I'm like, I want to curl up on the couch next to ML too and be like, what feels expansive? And I think what you were getting at earlier too is like, yes, you're 53. Let's not make decisions from a place of like, oh God, time is running out. You're 53. You've got decades ahead of you. If we look at these joyfully, like, make it feel, I'm just like, I've got all this time. What do I want to do with this time? Like that sort of like juicy, like
that's why I love called dreamscaping, where literally it's like landscaping. So you're like designing what your external life looks like, but with dreams. That's why I call it dream. Where I'm literally like, ooh, I could see myself on the beach. Ooh, what about like this? Ooh, like literally, like I get excited and I'm like, and so like that is an awesome place to make decisions from. So Emma, hopefully that was helpful. Yeah. I forgot to say, BAQA listeners, if you have a question, ask it. Okay. You can go to brownambitionpodcast.com. Email us at brownambitionpodcast@gmail.com. We are Brown Ambition Podcast on IG. You can send us a message there. You could tweet us at the BA Podcast. And but remember, We are not your financial advisor. I'm not your mama. I'm not your doctor, your attorney. Sue somebody else. Take what we say with the smallest of grains of salt. Okay. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back with a business question, because as you know, Berna is one of my mentees. And so I don't know what question she has for me, but I'm going to try to lead her down the path as best as possible.
Yes, please.
See you back in a moment. And we're back in black and brown and BAQAing. We have Berna Anat in the stew, the new author of Money Out Loud, an awesome book to help you, rich auntie, and your little nieces and nephew-poos as they navigate their financial journey, but from a place of fun and lightheartedness, but also financial education. So Berna's in the stew.
Hello.
And y'all know that I mentor, especially women of color, in just business. I've been in business for over 15 years. We've been able to scrape together over $40 million in revenue, so much of which we poured right back into the people that we serve. I'm proud that I get to have a business that, makes income, but most importantly, makes impact. And so I get a lot of young women, and young as in like young in business, asking me questions. And so I have some like people who I get to chat with, like Berna, but I just get so many requests. I was like, I can't take them all on. And so I started this Patreon, which is this platform where I can mentor. Literally, there's I think I have 1,300 mentees there now.
Amazing.
And if you'd like to join us, it's $10 a month. mymentortiffany.com. But the thing is, BAQA comes out on Friday. Tomorrow, I believe tomorrow morning, the price doubles from $10 a month to $20. But if you lock yourself in at $10 a month, you will always pay $10. So the 20 is going to be for the new people. So if you're interested, you want to dip your paper toe in, now is the perfect time, because mymentortiffany.com will be doubling tomorrow. So, all right, Berna, your question is what?
Okay, so to lay out some context, Tiffany has taken the last year to give me the keys to the kingdom. She's like, oh, you're writing a book, you want it to be impactful. Here's literally everything that I did. And if you know Tiffany, if you're one of her mentees, whether you're an in-person mentee or you're on her Patreon, you know that Tiffany's all about giving the keys to the kingdom. There is no gatekeeping ever. And so I first want to just say that my book launch is the way that it is and was the way that it was, largely because of Tiffany's guidance as to here's what to do strategically, but also here's how to enjoy it in a way that is fulfilling with your community. And so it's been legit, no joke, the best 2 months of my entire life up until now. It's just been so incredible. And my question, basically the umbrella over it is now what? Now what? Oh my gosh. And we talked a little bit about the now what emotionally on the main Brand Ambition episode. But I'm thinking of in terms of leverage, now I'm proud of the book. I'm proud of the impact it's made, the reviews and feedback that's coming in. I'm it's exactly how I wanted to hit. And this summer, I'm taking some time off to sort of recalibrate and reset myself, my nervous system and stuff. In the fall, I'm doing a school tour, university tour. I'm touring again so that I could try to get this book in front of as many young BIPOC as possible. And of course, have the universities buy things and have donors buy things. I would like to know from your perspective, besides sort of touring and selling the book itself, I'm what do I do next? How do I leverage the fact that I feel so successful with this book? How do I leverage it into what I want to do next? And what I want to do next, I want to do more on-camera stuff. I want to do more video stuff. And I also want to have more of what we've been talking about, which is more just sort of not so much passive income, but things that don't require me to be on camera and in front all the time. How do I leverage now the success of this book into the business goals that I want, but also aligned with the softer life of not sprinting anymore, not doing as much?
No, I love this question. And honestly, it's a question that it shows maturity in business, because typically I can tell where you are, but the kind of questions you ask. So typically, very, very, very newbies in business, which there's nothing wrong with it. It's really how do I make enough money to survive? Right. How do I just make money in general? So I know okay, this is a new person in business. I got to get you to your first $500 to $1,000 a month.
Yes.
And then it's okay, how do I make enough money to actually to like be okay. And I'm like, so the fact that you're asking this question shows like, ooh, you're like, you're a little teen in business, okay, growth.
Yeah, I'm living.
Which I love. And so what I would say first and foremost is that I want you to ask yourself, like, I mean, you've given me a little bit of clarity, but I want more clarity on how in general do you want life to look? So like the next, I would say like 5 years. So are you okay with being on screen and being face forward for the next 5 years? Or you're like, girl, I got about another year in me and I kind of want to be behind the scenes, because that's critically important with like how you want to pivot. So what would you say to that? Like in the next 5 years, how much do you want to still be like on camera?
Great question. I think honestly, I have the kind of personality where I think I'll probably want to be on camera until God takes me out. Like really, truly. I love being on camera. But I want that to be like a joyful choice I get to make, as opposed to here I am again. Like 5 years from now, if I have to be on camera every single week, then I'm going to be, that's too much for me.
I want it dancing for $1.
Exactly. I don't want to be dancing for $1 in 5 years. Like I still feel like I'm doing my dancing for $1 for sure.
Yes.
But in 5 years, I'd like it to be like selective speaking gigs or 1 or 2 weeks of filming something that then gets distributed, throughout a season or streamed. I'd like to be selective about the camera stuff and be more, in 5 years, definitely be more behind the scenes. And by behind the scenes, I mean like napping and traveling.
Okay. No, I love this
at summer camp.
This is kind of the transition that I've been making with the Budgetnista, because I was like, I don't want to dance for $1 anymore. So what I would say is this, and this is what I've done over at Budgetnista with the team, is you are in, which is really smart, you are in pre-pivot mode. So most people wait until they're forced to pivot and then they turn. And then, but you're doing it like ML earlier, from a place of panic, from a place of rush, from a place of uncertainty. So really, 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 really smart business owners learn to see the thing before the thing before the thing. Yes. So they begin pivoting and turning the boat way before the iceberg is visible.
Yes.
So by the time it gets here, you're like, oh, I'm so glad I pre-pivoted, because, we're basically almost already turned. So, you saw, you got me, you down. Okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Take another Titanic out, not me.
Exactly.
Pick somebody else.
Miss me literally.
Right? And so what we're doing at Budgetnista now is, I had told my team this years ago, I knew, I was like, same like you, I got a big personality, love to be face forward, but I knew it wasn't going to last forever. So I said, we have to start to identify ways that we can make money that don't require my face.
Yes,
that's what I said.
Exactly.
And so you have to start to lay out for yourself. So one of the reasons why, like I like Patreon, when I do like my my mentee, like, right? So that was kind of like just like a test, but it turns out it makes really good money. You figure I've got like 1,300 people, $10 a month, it was kind of accidental. It was like, oh, let me pour back into these women that keep asking me questions. But now it's a good chunk, like, of like some money that we make. I'm like, oh, and I go live once a month, but then the mentees also help each other. I enjoy having dinner with them and doing other in-person things. And so I say that to say that, like, that was one of my, pivoting moments where I get to do the thing I like, which is I grew up with 4 sisters, so I'm like a girl's girl. But so I get to do it, but I'm like, oh, wow, this actually makes some really great money coming in. So that's part of my pre-pivot. I always had kind of like a blog, but I had not really leaned into it. Right. But what I love about a blog is that, like, old school brands still very much want to be featured on your blog, so they'll pay for that. Like, there are products that I really enjoy, and that I remember there was this one bank account that I love so much, and I sent like 3,000 people opened up bank accounts with them, and I didn't know they had an affiliate program for $25 per person. Do the math. I was like, wait, what? I know. And this was very early on in my career. I wept because I had no money. It was like $50,000.
Oh my God.
Like, wait, what?
Easy. No work for you too.
I mean, so now I started to lean into like affiliate things. Like, so I have a list of maybe like 4 or 5 things that I already love, I use, and I like, and I trust. And then I reached out to the companies that they didn't have it already kind of like on their site. Like, do you have a program? Because I use, like, and trust you guys. And I would love to share you with my audience, but girl, a kickback would be cute,
Yes.
And so you're always honest, obviously, when you share like these things like, hey, this is a tool or a resource that I use, but know that I also get paid every time someone signs up. So that's just the law. But also too, is just good practice. So affiliates are one of the ways. Something else too that we started to, I still do some spokesperson work, speaking work, but that was like 70% of our income last year. And so this year, thus far, it's only been 25%, which is great.
Wow. That's where I'm trying to, that's my 5-year goal.
Yes.
I want to cycle that.
So it's not been easy because, you know, it's like I might not make as much money this year as I did last year because of that pivot, you know, so I'm always keeping an eye on that prize. So one of the things that we did is before we made that pivot, knowing that we might drop in income, we have 6 months of money saved of operating expenses. So that's payroll and all of our bills. So in case something gets tight, like this month, we didn't make enough to cover our bills, but we have 6 months, you know, because next month I have some things coming in that's going to be enough to cover bills for 5 months. So we'll be able to put the money back in our, you know, our emergency savings and then be good for the next like 5 months. But so do you see that even in the pivot, it might look like a drop down. So do you have the money set aside for that? So prepare for that, you know, as well. Totally. I'm trying to think of some other things we're doing at Budgetnista. So it's affiliate, it's the blog, it's Patreon, and then we're coming up with like some courses. You know, because like courses that people can purchase and buy. So we're looking at that. But even other things, I'm looking to think like, you know, are there some sort of partnerships where the overhead is not so high? Like, for example, maybe I could put out a white paper. This is something I was considering. Like, I have 2 million, specifically Black women that where, you know, it's like, why do Black women navigate they do with their finances? And I have the ability to like have people, like 10,000 people in 2 days do a survey. And then put out a white paper to say, here's why Black women navigate. Y'all don't know, child, look at that commercial. It's whack. Here's why Black women do the way, because I know this is what they've shared with me, why they do what they do. So that's potentially something too, where people, you know, brands might say you have to figure out a way to do so ethically. Obviously, you're not sharing people specific information, but in general, like basically I can be a trend spotter. You know, because I have my ear to the streets and say, hey, honestly, like bank, they don't mess with you because we don't like the way you talk to us.
Yes.
And so like, here's the language they're wanting. Here's the interest rate that they're wanting. Is that something that you can provide? You know what I mean? And so that's something that's been swirling around in my head. And so I just say, for you want to get really clear about first things first, how do you want life to look? Because if you start externally, you end externally. You want to start internally to say, I want my life to look like this. I want to do no more than 2 lives a month. I don't know. I'm just making it up. You know, I want to not have like, I only have a team meeting every 2 weeks. This is me. And when I do, sometimes it's a walking team meeting where I'm walking in the park. That was something that I really wanted, to be able to go outside every single day as long as weather permitting. You know, I wanted a team that did not need to be babysat. So I had to be very intentional of hiring and letting go. I had to let go more than half my team of people who did not need to be babysat, that they're fully autonomous. They have the agency. And so you see, like, if you're wanting a thing in business or otherwise, it's really the foundational component that's going to allow you to have it and maintain it. And so do you have the savings? Do you have the team? Are you clear about how you even want it to look? And then you put it into practice. So I get to live the very thing that was in my head, which is like all this time available to me. A team that doesn't need me to babysit them. You know, like people work joyfully. I make good money, although maybe less than last year because we're making that pivot. But the pivot does not require me to be on a plane every week. And so I'm living the thing that I intended, then built a foundation for, and then work through. And so first it starts with your intention, Berna. Like, I want this to be the thing. What foundation do I need? And then you have to take it to the streets and practice it. And then adjust as you go, knowing that like it might look like I make a little less temporarily, but that's part of the pivot. And the sooner you can get to pivoting, because eventually what happens is you will burn out. And then you're going to force yourself to pivot, and it's not going to be clean and easy. So if you can pre-pivot now from your own, from a place of like no panic, of like calmness, then by the time maybe that you're a little bit over it, you're like, oh, thank goodness I put that stuff in place, because only 25% of my income or 5%, whatever, comes from me being face forward. Thank goodness I put that stuff in place 5 years ago.
Yes.
So
exactly. This is exactly what I needed to hear and like kind of the blueprint that I needed, because I understand now that I feel like a strike while the iron's hot, kind of a little bit of a panic at the moment because my book just came out, right? And there's like lots of like, there's more media than usual about like what I'm doing, and there's more eyes than usual on like what my work is. So I feel a little bit of panic of that pivot. How do I pivot these eyeballs and this attention now, and also in the fall when we're going to do another media cycle again and touring again? What am I going to point people towards that will unlock like the tools of this pivot, which is, you know, do I point people towards a membership, a Patreon? Do I point people towards courses that I made? Because, and I need to sketch this out, like you said, what is my 5-year vision of like, what do I want my life to feel like in 5 years? I want that, like, I have a team that I trust, that I honestly, I've seen this through practice. I don't think I'm an amazing people manager. I want a team that I can trust with a person who manages the team too, a person that I can trust to manage the team, that I want to be able to like be selective about being on camera a few times a quarter or producing fun things like a few times per quarter, and not every single day I'm getting on Instagram and being like, you know, pills or whatever. And like I was saying before, I want enough space to check out for the summer so I could be that summer camp auntie, and whatever passive tools are in place are like working for me through the summer, so that when I get back in the fall, I'm not like, oh my God, we got to run around and make money again. This is so great. Like I know exactly what I want to chew on this summer of basically.
Just think to yourself, like, what is the return on investment? So the questions I ask my team every time we meet is the same. I say, you know, like first I ask them, how was your weekend? Like I just had this meeting this morning, so it's super fresh. It's my CFO, my content manager and director, my like logistics manager and like project manager. So we get on a call, you know, I always ask them how, and you say you're not a good people manager, and I certainly was not at first, but you grow to that. Like that's a skill set that's really important to develop, you know?
Yeah.
Because you have intrinsic kindness. Like that's the first start. So I'm much better now. And so anyway, so I always ask them, you know, how was your weekend? How was yesterday? Whatever, you know, just to connect and share how mine was. Then I ask basic questions. What are you working on? So because I want everyone to hear, what are you working on? What is working? You know, what challenges might you be having? And most recently I started asking, is it worth it to continue? Is the juice worth the squeeze?
Oh, wow.
Because I found out that we'd be working on something and the person working on it would be like, this is not even worth it. But they're like, Tiffany said we doing it, so we doing it. And I'm like, no, girl, I'm not emotionally tied to that thing. If it's not worth it, I tell them all the time, I don't care if we're at 99% completion and you're like, girl, this lift, there's no real return on impact or income, then we can stop today. We are the queens of the castle. So I'm always empowering them, like, you literally get to decide. I'm here to just say, okay. And so what are you working on? What's working? What's not working? And is the juice worth the squeeze? Those are the 4 questions that, you know, I ask them. And in doing so, what it allows us to do, especially when you're in a pre-pivot, that is the juice worth the squeeze. So important, that return on investment. You know, like I'll give you an example. I was hosting these things called wealth walks, which were great. And I said something offhanded. And I said, you know, these wealth walks, I love doing them because it's such a light lift. You know, because I just got to show up at the park, we walk, and then we sit on a blanket, we talk. The first one we did was like 50 women showed up. It was awesome. Oh, wow. And I was saying it to like one of my team members. I just was talking to her on the phone, just checking on her, how the kids, da-da-da. And I said, oh, yeah, the wealth walk was so fun. I can't wait to the next one. She was laughing. I said, why? She was like, oh, it's always funny when you say something's a light lift. I was like, wait, what? She's like, oh, girl, it's not a light lift around here. Like, the team has to do da-da-da-da-da-da. I was like, wait, what? She was like, oh, yeah. She was like, wait, you didn't realize? I'm like, she said it's not a light lift. My heart dropped, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, my already stressed team. I'm stressing them out, like, because I want to walk in the park with the girls.
You're like, let's do this 3 times a week.
I mean,
so easy.
And then on top of that, those wealth walk, I mean, it's free. There's no return. There's no, I mean, sure, is there impact for the 50 women that are there? Yes, but there's also no income. Right. And I was like, oh my goodness. And so I went back to the team. I was like, that's when I added, is the juice worth the squeeze? Right. And they were like, hey, it's not. I was like, then we stop now. Yes. We have one schedule, and we're like, we have this one more schedule, which we're going to do, but we stop now. But do you see how important it is to, like, you have to check in, And depending, like if we were making hella money and like that is like we're super good, like the budgetista is in transition. So if like it was all this money that was just flowing in automatically, then we have time for a little wealth walk because we're not busy. Let's just do it. It's cute. No, right now we are in pre-pivot mode. And so everything we do has to make impact and income. We cannot wait on both. We have to do both. You know, we can't wait like, oh, the impact is not for 2 years. No, we need to make impact now. Oh, the income, you know, we'll see in 6 months. No, we need to make income now. And so just keep that in mind as you're, you know, making this pre-pivot. Like, does this thing make sense? Is it making the impact I want for my audience? And is it making the income that I'm needing, you know, in order to have my goals be met? And then once, you know, you might think to yourself, oh, when I'm in the summer, like I challenge you to think that like, do I have to make money during the summer or do I make enough money before the summer to see me through? You see what I mean? Like if I'm like, oh, okay, because when I was a school teacher, that's what happened. Like we worked 10 months, but I didn't get paid in the summertime. They used to literally pull money out of our paychecks. And if we could get money, so that money, so it's like, you know, it would be like, I don't know, you know, you take an extra, whatever, 20%. And in the summer, I got that money from the school district to see me through the summertime. You see what I mean?
Gotcha.
So you can do that for yourself as well. Because sometimes we'll get tied up in like, this is what it has to look like. It's like, no, what are you actually really saying? You're really saying, I just want to have enough money to see me through. And so, and I'll end on this, that this is something I was talking, so I have the CEO of my online school, the Literature Academy, but I also mentor Tamara too, because I was a CEO there for like the last 6 years. And so we were talking this morning and we're pivoting there as well. And like I had an aha moment of it, something new that we're going to be doing that's going to really transform our business. And I told her, I said, and I tell you listening too, and you, Berna, that what you will find is that the better the question you ask, the better the answer. So what that means is that in the beginning, you know, like when you're first trying to like suss out, like what change should I make? What should I be doing next? That question, what should I be doing next, is like, it's a good base question, but the answer is going to be only as vague as the question is. So it's going to be like, so as you ask more questions, your questions are going to be clearer and clearer. And by nature of there being a question, the answer is born simultaneously. There are twins.
Yes.
You know? And so if you can say, so you want to get to the point where you're not asking, like, it's a good place to say, what should I be doing next? But you want to get to the point where you're literally asking, what's 1 + 1? Because then the answer is 2. Very definitive answer that's out there for you. And so for you, like, you know, start working your mind into more like, you know, in general, how do I want life to go? How do I specifically want business to go in this way? How could I make this amount of money? You see, then all of a sudden the question then becomes, how do I make reoccurring income in a way that I can make enough money? Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's an answer to that. Because that question is so specific. And so the better the question, the better the answer. And there's nothing wrong with having the vague question. That's how you start.
Yes.
But I told Tam today, I said, you see the answer that we just received? Because we've been asking the question for a year and getting better and better and chipping away at the unnecessary parts of the question. And so now we have such a clear question that we finally got a really clear answer about what we're supposed to do next.
Right.
And so like, that's just like, the better the question, the better the answer. Just know that if you can get clear about the question, its answer was born simultaneously. Now all you got to do is go find it.
Well, that's what's funny is even as I'm sitting here, I'm outlining more specific parts of the question for myself. Like the umbrella question is, what do I do next? And in my mind, I'm like, well, like, okay, well, what's the amount of income that I can make so that I can take off summers to be at summer camp? So how many months am I working? How many months am I not working? What does that income look like? What then would lead to that income? How much of that do I want to be passive? How much of that do I want to be on camera? Like, this is what's going on in my brain as you're talking. And again, like asking the umbrella question and talking it through, I'm like, oh, what came out of this was more questions, but it's almost like a worksheet now, as opposed to like a theory. Now it's like, well, when you fill in this blank, we'll fill in this blank, we'll fill in this blank. And then it's a plan. And that's like more of what I'm working towards. I know that now, like, this summer is the like hit the big reset button for me. So it's big question time, but I can already see of just like, well, I'm thinking even by the end of this summer, end of this like next quarter, I'm going to have more of a like, almost like Mad Libs of just like, in order for my life to look like X, I need to earn Y. Here's the lever I'm going to pull for this and this to earn Y. Like, I'm like,
yes, it's exciting. I know, isn't it? It is. Because like, because it's empowering. You're like, I'm not I'm not a victim in this.
Yes.
I'm not like this bystander. Like I am actively making the thing happen.
Yes. Yes.
You know?
And if you go step by step. Yeah.
Yes.
Like, I'm
And
like,
that's
oh,
business.
this is the question. And like, oh, I can. And finding too, as I'm asking those questions, I'm like, I could find the answer to that question
Yes.
easily. And then once I have that question, if I just do the math, I could find the answer to the next question.
Yes.
Okay. And it like starts to branch out. So I'm
Yes.
just like, I'm like having like a Jimmy Neutron that's so
Yes,
Raven. Like
exactly.
my brain's going like, oh, okay, we can do this. We can do this. We just need to like take the time.
That's
This
my
is so
favorite part of
great.
business, honestly, because the thing is that people don't understand that when business is good, it's hard. When
Yes.
business is bad, it's harder.
Yes.
You know,
Wow,
and
yeah,
so
absolutely.
business is not easy, but it doesn't mean it's not joyful. It doesn't mean that it has to be overwhelming or overworking or whatever. No, that's not what I'm saying. Is that like, we're not being hard, I mean challenging, but in a good way. You know, it grows you. All of a sudden, you're like, you know, you're going to become a better leader. It's only just the last couple of years, after 15 years, that I've become like a leader that I think like, okay, Tiffany, I would give myself a solid B in leadership
As a
after
manager.
15 years, you know?
Sure.
And so
Yes.
like business really grows you up. It allows you to have unlimited potential income for yourself.
Yes.
You know, it allows you to participate more easily in lifestyle design. You know, potentially it can allow you to look after your family if you so desire. You know, it can allow you to pour right back into your community. You can really shape your world when you're a business owner.
Yes.
It's certainly not easy, but
No.
the benefits are that. And it's not for everyone, believe me.
Yes.
You know, the benefits are that because there's also a lot of risk involved. And so I'm just like to watch you grow and blossom and learn. And you always know I'm always here for you, just a phone call or a text or whatever away. But no, I love that. So as you get, like, as your questions get more and more concrete, you know, I'm one of the resources you can reach out to say, okay, so I thought about what you said, but what about this, and this? And what I love with a good mentor, that a good mentor is not just, they don't have all the answers. Instead, a mentor is also like a sponsor, you know, and a connector. So it's like, you know what? I don't know. Let me talk to my friend such and such, or I'm actually going to connect you with my friend such and such, and she's going to talk to you, you know? And so
100%.
If y'all looking for a good mentor, I'm just saying, mymentortiffany.com. The price is doubling, but not for you old heads. Like, you know, you lock in for $10. You ain't got to worry about the $20 a month, because tomorrow is the last day. Then the price goes up. I don't want to hear, I live in Hawaii and I didn't know it's Sunday now. It's over. You know, you can still pay $20, but why pay 20 when you can pay 10? The link for My Mentor Tiffany will be in the show notes. But also, we have a book, Berna Anat. She's been here. Not only is she a businesswoman, she is a financial educator, and one that is one of my favorites because she is fun, she is aligned, she is authentic, and she's just really smart. Money Out Loud is available wherever books are sold. But where can they find you and the book, Berna?
I'm having a funny moment right now because I straight up forgot that we're recording a podcast. Like I'm like, all these people are witnessing a like incredible mentorship conversation. Like, this is what it's like to be a mentee with Tiffany. If again, can I just double click? If you're wondering what you would get inside of My Mentor Tiffany, I can't guarantee that you're going to have one-on-one long, beautiful recorded conversations with Tiffany, but like, I forgot that we're recording a podcast. This is how magical the mentorship is for me. And to just get a piece of that, it is so worth it at 10, at 20. Like, please don't be ridiculous. Do it. I'm living sitting proof that her mentorship is magical. But I can be found at Hey Berna everywhere on Instagram, most principally. I'm like the most annoying on Instagram. And then you could find the book. You could find the book at heyberna.com, anywhere that you buy the book. I always go tell people buy local, hit up bookshop.org, because that's where you can support indie bookstores. It took me a minute to get back into like talking to other people in the mic mode, because I'm like, oh, it's not a phone call? Okay, sorry. Hi everyone. Hi and bye. I forgot y'all are there.
Oh, Berna, you're the awesomest. Thank you so much for coming on again.
Thank you.
I'm sure we'll have you on again. But yes, if you guys have a question for BAQA, again, brownambitionpodcast.com. Click the contact button, brownambitionpodcast@gmail.com. You can email us. We're Brown Ambition Podcast on Instagram. You can send us a D of the M's and the BA Podcast on Twitter. You can tweet us a question and we will answer them about career, business, money, and just anything else you want to talk about. But keep it cute.
Better.
Right?
I'll fight people at this point. Like, Tiffany's very much a like, she could think the word jump and I've hit the ceiling. So if anyone is going to come sideways at my Tiffany, I have nothing to lose. I don't have a boss.
Our people are so dope, honestly. Our people are so cool. So.
Yes.
All right, y'all.
Thank
Until
you.
next week. Bye.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Hey, BA fam, we could not do this show without your support or the support of our team behind the scenes. The Brown Ambition podcast is produced by Imani Crosby, and Dennis Stemplinsky is our in-house tech guru. I am your co-host, Mandy Woodruff Santos, and we will see y'all next week, BA fam.
The Bulwark Podcast focuses on political analysis and reporting without partisan loyalties.
A real sense of deja vu sprinkled on our PTSD. So things are going well, I guess.
Every Monday through Friday, Charlie Sykes speaks with guests about the latest stories from inside Washington and around the world.
You document in a very compelling way all of the positive things that have come out of this, but it also feels like we have this massive hangover.
No shouting or grandstanding. Principles over partisanship. The Bulwark Podcast, wherever you listen.